Even as India and China cautiously navigate a fragile thaw in ties following the Galwan Valley clashes, a new flashpoint has emerged, this time on screen. It's the trailer of Battle of Galwan, a Bollywood movie slated for release in April 2026. And it stars Salman Khan, which has now stirred sharp reactions in Chinese state media. The Global Times has dismissed the movie as an over-the-top drama, even as online debates intensify. Chinese commentators hit out as exaggerated storytelling and a one-sided Indian narrative, arguing that cinema cannot alter historical facts or on-ground realities. Okay, let's tell you more about China's objection when it comes to the Galwan movie trailer. So, number one, they have really, the Global Times, which is Chinese state media, has called it an over-the-top melodrama. That's China's objection. Meanwhile, India has said that India is a country with freedom of expressions and we can make movies on what we like. Then, the second counterpoint, the second rather objection by China is cinematic exaggeration cannot rewrite history. Beijing says that on-ground reality cannot be changed. Apart from that, China's objection, movie cannot shake PLA's determination, to which India's counter is that Indian directors have artistic freedom. Apart from this, China also says that the movie cannot change core facts of Galwan incident. India's counter is that the Defense Ministry can be approached for clarity. That's what New Delhi has clearly said. There's more to it. China says movie presents one-sided Indian narrative, and India says government has no role to play in Galwan movie. If anyone who has any kind of objection can rather reach out to the Defense Ministry in India. So these are some of the objections which Beijing has raised, but there are also some sticking questions that we ask. Number one, how India's story is a provocation for China. Why is China so bothered with an Indian movie releasing in India? Number two, does Indian cinema need China's approval? Why object to a teaser? It's just a teaser, not even a trailer. Before, in fact, watching the movie, why so much uproar over just a 30-second teaser? The fourth objection, can Galwan movie hurt China's confidence? What is Beijing so scared about? And lastly, the big question is, China denies death of 42 soldiers. Is this an objection to prevent truth? These are some of the big questions that we ask on the show tonight. And well, to answer all this and much more, I'm now being joined by Advita Kala, author, and also Dr. Tilak Jha, who's a China expert. Coming to you, Ms. Kala, first, it's not the first time that a country has put out such a movie. US has always done this by putting their point of view forward using cinema as a soft power. Why is China so bothered?
China is so bothered because it's unfamiliar with creative freedom. It's quite a straightforward answer. So they're obviously bothered about this because it's a novel concept to them. Secondly, I think it's also an acknowledgement from China when it comes to Indian soft power, because Indian films are popular not only in the subcontinent, but in different parts of the world, and increasingly so. And China has recognized that soft power. It's recognized it for a while. China runs a multi-tier war at all times. And one of those is the narrative war. Now, what they've managed to do in Hollywood, which is invest in studios, invest in productions, threaten to close out their market to Hollywood films, all of those things have resulted in Oscar nominations, change in casts, change in storylines, and Hollywood has succumbed and capitulated. But that same success they haven't seen in the Indian film industry as yet. And that's one of the reasons why they're coming out so strongly and taking an official stance on it.
Right. Right, Ms. Kala. I want to come to you, Dr. Jha. You're a China expert. What do you have to say on what Ms. Kala said? India is only projecting its stance, its narrative to the Indians, releasing in India itself. Why is China so irked that rather not even a trailer, a teaser is being criticized by the Global Times, which is, of course, China's state media?
I think we have to understand the fact that as far as this issue is concerned, this remains a very, very sensitive issue for China in particular, because the Chinese have been very, very reluctant in terms of putting up the figures of the actual number of Chinese soldiers who died. The reporting of the Galwan incident in China remains at best an untold story, which was hardly reported for that matter. And I think they have consistently displayed a tendency since China became communist, is that they try to do narrative control. As the previous speaker said, that the Indian movies do have a huge soft power, and they also happen to, many of them, for example, Amir Khan's Dangal, or for that matter, Three Idiots, they happen to be hugely popular in China, and they do know that Indian movies do have certain currency. But having said that, possibly most Chinese will never watch Galwan movie because the Chinese will never allow it to be seen inside China. But at the same time, I think they do realize that it's a global connected world, and many people will access to these kind of movies, even if the Chinese Great Firewall bans it. Other fact is that it's a geopolitically very, very sensitive issue. China somehow realizes that India is under pressure because of the the turns in the relationship with the United States, and although they need India as much as China, and India needs China, but at the same time, I think they are trying to not hold their tongue for that matter. I think China has always displayed certain amount of lack of sensitivity when it comes to India's concerns, and this is just, once again, they expect us to control our movie, they expect us to control our soft power to their benefit. I don't think that is possibly the right way to look forward.
Right. Ms. Kala, coming to you, Dr. Jha says that the Chinese media and the Chinese Communist Party, they try to control Indian narrative. My question to you is that, can this movie, the Galwan teaser, which has been released, can it rather hurt China's confidence?
I'll tell you who it'll help. It'll help the film. I think China doesn't have the correct advisors. I think their understanding of India is very limited, and purely through their own lens of this kind of restrictive freedoms that it practices on its own soil. Because, in India, the more controversy a film gets prior to release, the better opening date it has. So what they've done inadvertently is, at a time when movies are not doing that well at the box office, this come as a boon for the movie, because suddenly everybody is wanting to see the teaser. They're looking forward to the film because China's made such a song and dance about it, no pun intended. Not just the Indian film industry who does a song and dance. Clearly, China does as well. And I think it's just silliness. I don't see why it should be such an issue. They have to understand that we're a diverse, large country which has its own cultural imprint. And we're very much part of the world, and we have stories to tell. And stories that involve our heroes, our martyrs, are stories that will remain very compelling for us, irrespective of what their stance is on the issue. So I think China should grow up a little bit and have exchanges with India, which are cultural, which are amicable, because India has been very clear that we are ready to be friends with everybody. And you just have to extend a hand of friendship to us. I think China would do well to recognize we're an ancient civilization as they are. And we have a lot more in common than what sets us apart.
Right, absolutely, Ms. Kala. But people are questioning the timing of the release of this short teaser at a time when ties between both the countries had perhaps reached a great spot. But my question is for you, Dr. Jha. It's just a trailer, a short teaser which has been released. And if this movie is for all Indians, how is perhaps India's story a provocation for China? Because like Ms. Kala mentioned, that the Chinese people will, I doubt, will be able to even watch this movie.
Well, it is not a provocation as such, but at the same time, what is true is that if you see the world's history, then America, for that matter, lost Vietnam War, but the movies that the American Hollywood industry made about Vietnam War were mostly asserting American supremacy during the war, which was in a way also an effort to restore the confidence of the demoralized nation that America happened to be after suffering the defeat in Vietnam. So I think we have world over seen a restoration of identities. Chinese have themselves done a lot of rewriting of history. They hardly teach about 1962 war. They call it clashes, that too in unofficial. I think I still remember there was a debate in which there was a Japanese and a Chinese, and I was there. I think they started accusing the Japanese about misrepresentation of history. And then I told them, you do the same thing about India's history, India-China history. So I think we have to understand the fact that popular culture and geopolitics in today's world happen to be frequently spilling over. But I think as far as India is concerned, it is not a provocation. It is something of a sovereign right. For that matter, we have a very popular film industry.
Right.
It's a competitive industry. Industry is not a propaganda for us. It is yes, at times we do see certain influences, but this is not a propaganda industry for sure.
It's, of course, showering tributes for our heroes, Colonel Santosh Babu. The role is now being played by Salman Khan. I just have 2 to 3 minutes. Ms. Kala, your final thoughts. India has clearly said that there is a right to freedom of expression. And after all, it's a movie for all of us to be proud for our soldiers, especially Colonel Santosh Babu. Your final thoughts.
Well, I think if China doesn't want us to make films like this, then it should not give us occasions to tell these stories. And that kind of aggression on the border was certainly an instance wherein our soldiers held their ground, they held their line, and we have a story to tell now for it. If China doesn't want that, then it shouldn't embark on such misadventures. It's as simple as that. And frankly, for China and India, speaking out, being strong, is always going to be provocative, unless they change their attitude, be it our economic success, be it our cultural success. China is going to view that as a provocation. And I think this is where the shift in understanding has to change when it comes from the point of view of the Chinese, because India is a large, diverse country, and we're going to continue to grow and exert our voice in the world.
Right. Right, absolutely. Thanks, Ms. Kala and Dr. Jha, for joining us here on NDTV and sharing your insights with us on this.